Howdy folks, today I'm going to be telling you about A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Holly Jackson in general, her books. So the first thing I'm going to say is this series, it's a trilogy, so 3 books, is one of the best mystery, almost thrillers ever, for YA especially. So there is some swearing in it, but it's not like horrible, although there are more in her other books, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But this first book is about Pip. She is a high school senior, I think, and for her capstone project, she decided to investigate a 5-year-old case that happened in her hometown of a girl going missing, and then her boyfriend is found later dead and is supposedly killed himself because he killed her. That's how everybody thought it ended, and that's how they closed the case 5 years ago. But Pip thinks that's wrong. She thinks that's very wrong, so she decided to investigate, and then we get into things, and then things go downhill, and a whole bunch of stuff happens, and it's amazing. It's great. I love it. And there's a little bit of romance. It's perfect. It's like the perfect amount of romance. And so yeah, this is so good. It's amazing. I'm not sure what I individually rated the books, but it's definitely a 6-star series. 6 stars. I never give series that much, except a couple of series. The second book, which I don't have with me, I don't have the rest of the series because I lent it to my cousin and I haven't gotten it back yet. But that's okay. I have this one. So technically you could just read this one and you could be fine and not read the rest of the series because it ends and it closes, and it's fine that way. But if you want more, the second book follows a different mystery, but a couple of things tied back into from this book, so it's a little bit connected throughout the whole series. There's a couple hints about stuff. But the second book, which is Good Girl Bad Blood, starts out with Pip saying she never wants to do any of this mystery stuff again, and she starts a podcast talking about this mystery, and her friend goes missing, and so his brother comes to her because the police wouldn't do anything, obviously. Because how would any of these mysteries happen? Or how would Pip ever solve any of these mysteries if the police solved them? So, the brother comes to Pip and asks her to help. And of course, she says yes. After some convincing. And then they have to find out what happened, who took him, or who killed him. Because he's either missing, like he ran away, somebody kidnapped him, or somebody killed him. Or all of the above. So we have to figure out what happened, and then there's another mystery added on top, but I won't spoil anything. And then the third book, As Good as Dead, is a lot harder to talk about because it's more spoiler if I try and say anything, but there's a lot more, it's a lot more thriller-y vibes in the third one, and it's a little psycho, but it's great anyways. And the ending was terrible but also great, so there's that. But in general, this whole series was amazing. I loved it so much. I actually listened to the audiobook of the whole series 3 times and read it 1 full time. Actually, I haven't finished the last one reading it, but that's how much I love this. I've never actually read a book that many times, so that should be saying something to you. So these books are YA, but they do have some swearing and slightly heavier topics. So I'd say probably 14 and up should read this. If you want to get into it, probably 14 is the youngest. Yeah. The next book I'm talking about, the next 2 actually, are 5 Survive and The Reappearance of Rachel Price. These are both standalones, and they're more like mystery thriller. They're more thriller vibes than... Okay, this one's a thriller, this one's more of a mystery, but then it kind of turns into a thriller, almost. So these 2 are both quite a bit longer than any one of the books in the series. And I'd say they could have been shorter, but they were amazing. So first is 5 Survive. This is about 6 kids who are in an RV going cross country or whatever to a cabin, I think, with their other friends. Their RV breaks down in the middle of the woods, and then things start happening. Obviously, somebody does not survive because there's 6 kids and only 5 survive. No way. And I love how Holly Jackson has this map in the front of the RV because it actually helped so much because they described it sometimes. And oh my goodness, it helped so much. Let me tell you that. So this one was good. I'd say it was a little bit slow to get into, but then it picked up and started getting somewhere. But for some of the scenes, it dragged out too long. I'd say overall, it was very worth reading. Oh yeah, and it happens all in one night. So they have timestamp things, so you just go through the night and it ends at like 6 a.m. Yeah, 6 a.m. the next day. And this one's also YA, but there's a lot more swearing in it, so if you don't like swearing or you're a parent and you don't want your kid to read as much swearing, then probably don't have them read this one. But this one was probably 15 or 16 and up. And same with this one. There's a lot more swearing in both of these books than in the series. And in both of these books, there's a teeny bit of romance, but we don't get a whole lot. And in Five Survive, I didn't connect to the characters very much because it's a quick thriller happening in one night. And you get the perspective of Red, and she has such an interesting mind, and we get a lot of her thoughts, and it's like, what is going on half the time? You have no clue what's happening, but like you do in a way. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but we get a lot more of in their heads and like how they think in these two books. Yeah, that was really interesting. I did like it, but it sometimes dragged on in this one. So this one, I think I rated it 4 stars probably. And now let's get on to The Reappearance of Rachel Price. This book was very good, I'd say. There was a lot more swearing though. It's still YA, but there's still a lot more swearing. It starts out with Belle, the main character, and her family are doing a documentary on her mom, Rachel Price, who disappeared 16 years ago when when Belle was only 2 years old? Yeah, because she's 18 now. So she was 2 when her mom went missing, and nobody knows what happened. Nobody figured it out, and they first thought it was the dad, but he had an alibi. So they're trying to figure out who did it, how they did it, and like nobody could figure it out because they disappeared twice, I think. Once in a mall earlier that day, and then later off of a highway, I think, like on the side of a highway. And nobody can figure out what happened. And Belle was 2 years old, so she didn't know, even though she was in the car with her mom when she went missing. So, crazy story right there. And it starts out with a documentary and their family doing it on her mom, obviously. And then, obviously, as the title says, she reappears. And then we have to figure out what actually happened because, first of all, everybody thought she was dead for 16 years. And she says she was kept in a basement and didn't know who her captor was. And then Belle starts to doubt that her story was actually true, and she starts to try and figure out what happened. And then a lot of other things happen, and it's crazy. The beginning was a little slow. After 100 pages, or 100 pages in is when her mom actually reappeared. So that took a little while. I'd say the beginning was slow, but once you get to the part where things start happening, which is like halfway through, it gets crazy, and it was really worth it. It was a very good mystery, and there were so many plot twists, so many, and it was just amazing. I loved this book, even though the beginning was a little slow, and the little bit of a hint of a love interest was kind of like a mini Harry Styles, which she actually calls him that, which is really funny. But it was an amazing book. I loved this. Holly Jackson's writing is my favorite for mysteries. Oh, and also Natasha Preston had a blurb on the top. The perfect nail-biting mystery. And also Natasha Preston is a very good mystery writer. I love hers as well. But all this goes to say that I love Holly Jackson's mysteries. And her writing is amazing. And it's always YA so far. And yeah, she has amazing books. Oh, yes. And I gave this one a 4.5 to 4.75. In between there. Such a good mystery, and I love how Holly Jackson writes in the characters' minds because it's so unique to anyone else I've read of having somebody in their mind, and it's just crazy. I love it. She's just so good at writing. I hope you enjoyed my reviews on Holly Jackson's books, and I'll see you guys in another video sometime. Cheers!